science speech wherein I get to introduce myself for those of you who aren't regular Toastmaster attenders. And my theme is global. Truly, my theme, Mary Scott, is global. I am from Normal, Illinois, USA, Northern Hemisphere, the continent of the Americas, Earth, this solar system. And I think most people did not grow up with that in their head. Most people did not grow up thinking of themselves as global. But the way I was raised, in my family, I always felt connected to everything. And part of that is my heritage, my glorious heritage. My father joined the military, became a POW in the Japanese war camps, came home and fought with every inch of his life to have the American Japanese get their rights back. He worked with Indira Gandhi on economic policy in India. My mother, who was a freedom rider in the South during the horrible civil rights, who worked hard for human rights at all times, we had Martin Luther King to my house for dinner because he came and spoke at school with her. I am global. I am rooted in the global. I had Ganesh in my house, along with Jesus Christ, along with Buddha. I grew up embedded in the cultures of all the worlds and understanding that every one of us is important. I think it's so wonderful to be in 2018 and to know that this boundary is not really there in some ways. We know now that skin is porous. We know now from sociology and psychology that cooperation is what truly drives forward momentum. People who got that tiny picture of Darwin as being the strongest is what thrives. They don't get it. The redwood forest is full of animals of all kinds. One oak tree in California supports 10,000 lives. I wish everybody were raised globally. I wish everybody understood the need to love, defend, and protect the earth, each other, and our communities. I told you that I'm working on my grandma speeches last week. My grandma speeches, my telling my relatives about where we come from and where that means we should be headed. That's what I'm truly working on. I have a grandfather who married a Choctaw Indian, traveled in a Calistoga wagon to Texas, landed there, a tiny little town in Texas. He was fiercely independent. He was fiercely himself. And when the KKK tried to grow in his town, he was one man who stood up to them. Yeah, it was amazing. All he did was go out and watch them. They were wearing their long white robes and their hats, and he just watched them. And he said, "Tom, how's the hardware store going? Bob, how you doing with that field that's a little wet?" He just called them out, one by one. And the Supreme Dragon Master of the KKK said, "This is a private organization. This is a secret organization. You can't do this." And he said, "I just want them to know that I know who they are. And if they harm anybody in my community, I will come see them one by one." And that, my friends, was the end of the KKK in that county. I want to remind you, my heritage is of teachers and farmers and small little people. Small little people. My heritage is of the earth and of teaching. And with that heritage, I want to remind every one of us that we each individually can make a difference in reaching out to the whole global community, protecting, loving, and honoring every one of us within that. So I've had somebody in sanctuary in my house for a couple of years, and I stop fights when I see them, and I do the things that I think I can do. Little tiny steps whenever I see them. Little tiny, tiny. Because the truth of the matter is, you, every one of you, are my brothers and sisters. This planet, this beautiful third rock from the sun, needs us, needs our hands, our hearts, and our minds to protect one another. Thank
you. Everybody stands for the icebreaker.
Someone's first speech, you always gonna stand